Welcome to Ike Comics Draw Process. I'm going to draw page 3 of episode 2 of First Sun and Sword today.
Okay, page 3, the final page of this first scene. The magistrate's going to announce Kurok the Man-Eater is after Sword and Sun. That's the lizard man that's here in this scene. So I had the layouts from a few episodes ago. I made the layouts for the first 3 pages, this first scene. Now I'm going to have to refine these pencils, ink, and then you'll see the finished page at the end of the video. I've been thinking about how there are things that get in the way of being my practice of my art. And I've been thinking about what do I do about that and what does that, mean for me. And that's because there were some things that came up this week that got in the way. I had to spend many hours working on school stuff, a few hours on a car issue, different things. Some of it is comic related, like printing for the first issue that I'm still trying to try different options and figure out what's right for me. That can be very time consuming. Very recently, writing this issue, even though writing comics is important to me because I want to tell stories, if I have to write and completely pause drawing comics until it's written, and if I spend a month not drawing a comic page, I start to feel off. It starts to affect me. I start to think like a writer and not enough like a sequential storyteller. So these frustrations have, come up periodically here, and it's not just that it's taking time away from art. It's that a lot of the things that come up are important and require care and attention. They require that I embrace them, right? It's embrace a different way of being. That I will think like a writer and not just like an artist in that moment. So it's not just that I'm losing time to maintain my practice, so I feel I'm losing it in some way. It's not just that I'm not getting to do what I want or feeling worried about if I'm going to get where I'm trying to go. It's that I feel in some sense I'm betraying myself. I'm getting pulled away from this value system, this way of being an artist, and that I'm having to give in and engage with other ways of being. I think there's some truth to it. If you were to if you were imprisoned, if you were in war, for a period of time, you're going to be somewhat given over to that culture, that system for survival, because especially going into the military, I would imagine, strong culture, it's going to be hard to go in thinking, I'm an artist. I'm just going to keep this to myself. I'm going to maintain this way of thinking and being that I'm a comic artist, even though every day is war. Every day is what the soldier's way, whatever. You're going to have to give in and embrace that way of being to some degree. It's going to rub off on you whether you like it or not. And it's going to be really hard to keep in mind, keep in your heart this, and in your thoughts and so on, this way of being an artist. I think it's possible though, that it's possible that even if my time to practice my art is limited and maybe completely restricted, which it isn't, but in the case of war or something, completely restricted, if you maintain that way of being in your mind, I think you could, next time you get to engage in the art, there could be development shown that development could come through internal processing and not just the work. So, for example, if you sat down and drew every day for 1 hour, you would get better over time. But if all you did was sit down and draw when it's time to draw, and the rest of the time you're thinking about other things and doing other things, you may not develop that much, versus someone who drew once a week, but the rest of the time they're thinking about it. So I've been drawing a comic page every week, at least one every week, for over a year now. And this video series helps me keep thinking about it and looking at what I'm doing. And by maintaining that focus, I'm investing in this way of being. How I measure how I'm doing, what is important, what I'm considering, what I'm mulling over, thinking about, where I'm trying to get to. These all are kept in mind. It's part of this way of being. And so I think it can be done. And I think, with the example I gave there, even as an artist, things can get in the way of you really focus. Even if you're practicing it, you're not necessarily focusing on it in the healthy way. If your attention is on, how do I make a career out of this? How do I make more money? How do I get attain in some way? Then you're not thinking about other things you could be that, to me, are more important in being my practice. Like, you could have been thinking about what is this process I'm engaged in each time I draw a page? What is it telling me? What are the way that I'm penciling? Is this the right way? Is this the best way for me? Are natural ways that I do things starting to reveal themselves to me, that I could include, that I could make room for, and that I could adapt to? How's my inking? Is there a different way I could sit or position the paper, or different tools I could use that would yield a result that might move in the direction I want to move? These sorts of thoughts are the ones that I think I want to be thinking about, and I think many people, we should be thinking about these things, but we're not, right? We're too busy with these other things to think about. So things get in the way of the practice, and even when you're engaged in it, you might not be engaging in it wholeheartedly. That things are still getting in the way, sort of infecting that practice. So something I was thinking of is, which I want to do for myself and haven't quite done yet, even though I sort of do it in every video, is to really get in mind what that picture is of the artist I want to be, and what that way of being is like. And in a way, not even a picture of me doing it, but like a person who is that person I would want to be. The artist that's doing their practice the way I wish I could. How would they do things? How would they think about things? And what would be important to them, and what would they value? Not just what do they do each day with their time. To me, that's too limited of a view, because then it becomes a way to beat ourselves up for not living up to the expectation we are putting on ourselves. This is something bigger. How would that person, what is their way of being? What are they thinking about and considering, and how are they measuring themselves towards the goal? What game are they playing? What idea are they fueled by? So if I can develop, this vision, it really that's the idea. That's like the value, the thing that sort of I can obey, that I can fall in line to. It becomes that guiding principle. It becomes the commanding voice, commanding idea. And so even when I don't want to, I'm going to fall in line with my master, with the thing that I've believed, that I've commanded myself with. The stronger I can make that picture, the better I can articulate that commanding idea, that way of being, that dream and value, the more I can get that clear for myself and build it up to the strongest possible master, then, commanding idea, beautiful idea. The more I can build that up, the more I'll be able to give into it and maintain it in my mind, that even if I had to go to war for a while and I got to do other things, I can maintain that idea in my mind that really this is what's important to me. For now, I have to do this other thing, but this is what I really value secretly. I'm being forced to practice this religion to not get killed in this society, as another kind of wild analogy. But secretly I have this other religion that I'm going to hold on to until it's safe for me to engage in it again. These are extreme examples, but I think it's no joke. Trying to maintain a practice is not easy. And there's a lot of other pressures of ways of being that seem more important. And the more years you put in making art, and the older for me, the more years I put in, the older I get, the more I feel like, is it selfish of me to be making art when I could be making money for my kids or something? Is this the most important thing when in the face of death, and life being so limited, what would really be meaningful? And there's so many voices, so many things out there that are well developed that say this is what's important. This brand is important. Give yourself to it. I want to invent my own idea that I'm going to give into, right? Make it as strong as possible and keep it in mind. My vision for it has to answer all those questions. My artist's life, my practice of my art, how does it make life more meaningful? How does it make life better? How does it help others? How does it reach beyond myself? It's not just self-serving. The more beautiful and impassioned this view can be, the more I can keep it in my mind as a guiding principle. This is how I've been thinking about it, and I think it feels very hopeful. And I think despite I hadn't put words to it like this until now, but I think this is what I've been struggling with, or it hasn't been a struggle per se. I've kind of been doing this, is what I mean. I've been maintaining this vision and developing this vision, which is fueling me to keep going, keep thinking about it. With that comes giving up a lot of other things. Because if you really invest in this huge vision for being the practice of your art, for living your artist's lifestyle, then it's also so important that you really give everything to it. It should be so important that it wouldn't even matter if you failed, that even if you lost everything or failed in pursuit of that goal, that it is still meaningful and worthwhile. It's so worth it, it's worth doing even if you fail at it. Even if you do it poorly, it's worth doing. And it might sound silly to say this about making comics. to be so serious about it when it's just something silly, right? But I think if that's your reaction, you should really consider, like, maybe you could be more serious about it. Maybe it is dead serious. Why shouldn't you be serious about it? There's people that are dead serious about other things, going to the moon. But like, what was the point of that? Really? So yeah, if you can't imagine being that serious about your practice, do some soul searching, I would suggest, and make it more serious. I think fear holds us back a lot of the times because we're afraid that if we really empower this view, that we will fail at committing to it, that that we might appear foolish, that we know that we're going to have to give up so many other things that pleasures we would want if we could just kind of cheat. Make comics, but it's just something I do. It's just a hobby. I do this, but I just, it's just something I'm into a little bit. And then I do this other thing and this other thing too. But then I don't have to be judged by my performance on any of these things. I can just kind of sit back. To me, that's sort of like lacking courage. It's sort of fear-based. So getting past that fear, I think it leads this way. It leads to being willing to consider this as a very serious thing. And can we really believe it? Let's do that. I'm not going to make the case right here on this video right this minute, but comics are so neat. To be able to tell a story visually in this particular way, it's just so cool. It's so unique. Movies and books, they can't do this. The things that comics can. And there's something so authentic, so like raw in a person's line they make, like little symbols, little lines they make communicating something, is so neat. It in some ways more close to the soul of the way it can connect to a reader. That makes me think of something I've mentioned to some people before this. It's almost something I couldn't even put into words, but like so many video games feel the same, and a lot of times they're made from the same game engine. But I thought, why is it that it feels like everything, like three-dimensional games feel like they snap to a grid, that there's there's 3D planes, and you're moving about in these, and when you turn, things are positioned in a three-dimensional sense. Now, that's an abstraction from reality, and we don't experience reality in such a gridded fashion, like in a dream, for example, where things morph. Now, this was before AI art AI images had come out, and some of those AI videos where things kind of morph from one thing to another. But I said, surely there's going to be a point where we can create more unique worlds that you can inhabit and move about in more interesting and different ways than just the generic, just the grid kind of model. So comics, I think, can do that. That's why I mentioned that. I'm wasting time. We're running out of time here, so I'm gonna have to cut that short. But comics is able to, when I draw these pictures for people, they can be abstracted from reality in so many different ways, and so many different artists could do it in so many different ways. the amount of variety of vision you can get from someone is very high in comics. And that's far more interesting to me than what film can do, than what video games have ever done so far. But that's it for this week. I hope that can help you in dealing with frustrations and in sort of maybe taking on this challenge to develop that idea of being your practice of your art and making it as strong as possible and letting yourself fall in line to that. Like, build that up as strong as you can, let it guide you. And then maintain that when you have to do other things in life that get in the way. Maintain that idea and that value. And maybe through that approach, you'll find yourself not only drawing more often, but thinking more about your practice, seeing your practice in deeper ways, more interesting ways. And instead of burnout and boredom or something in your art, the world could open up to you. A very rich, rewarding experience of engaging in this. Well, I'll be the practice of my art as best as I can this week. I'll see you next week.